You know, I was recently talking to a friend of mine, excuse me, and we were talking about how there's so much focus and press about climate change, about where the world is going, global warming and all of those things right now. But everyone seems to ignore, and I hope I don't get into trouble for saying this, because Oprah got into trouble. For saying this, everyone is ignoring the big elephant in the room in terms of climate change, in terms of whatever is happening. Global warming is that the cattle industry is the most major cause of global warming.
And she gets some people pretty upset when she said that. But yeah. you may be okay. You may not have the same audience that Oprah has.
And so this thing is, so let's say, if someone's asking me to cooperate with climate change, to answer your question, when does my cooperation start and when does my cooperation end? I wouldn't cooperate if people are not really talking about the elephant in the room.
Or the cow.
Or the cow, or whatever in the room. For me, it's a no-brainer. I'm not even going to go there because we are not addressing the real issue. And
but let me push you back on that, because I could also hear you saying to me, in that moment, while this person is inviting you into a conversation that isn't about the elephant, the best thing that you can do for them is to send good thoughts, to look for the best thing in who they are right there.
Right.
And cooperate, perhaps to achieve a change in their vision, perhaps to get them around to your vision.
No, I guess I would lay I of course would have good thoughts, positive thoughts for everyone. That's a given.
Okay.
But more than anything, if I'm going to use my resources, and especially my time, which all of us have, our time is very, very valuable now, and if I'm going to use my time for something, then I really need to know if it's worthwhile, if it's going anywhere. And so I would actually, in this particular case, when you ask me when does my cooperation start or end, in this particular case I would say I would come to the table if we talk about the cow in the room.
And in the meantime, so we won't be having the cooperation conversation then. What do you bring to that? What power do you bring to that moment?
Tolerate, I guess, because that's one of the things that I always feel. Because I was born and brought up in India, that one of the things that was the hardest thing for me living in this country to deal with even then and even now is the way animals are treated in a large scale, and it's very, very hard to take. And so, especially because I'm coming from a culture where it's very different, and so, and especially the scale in which they're mistreated is very hard to take. And that's one thing that I've always had to tolerate, you know, that I don't look at someone and say, oh, but you do this and this and this. Right. That I look at them and say, I tolerate their whole package, and then I'm able to even have a decent conversation where we go somewhere with it. And so tolerance would be a big one.
The challenges that you have then with cooperation may have to do pretty much with what people are asking you to cooperate with, or what the opportunities are that you might have to cooperate.
Yeah, what the opportunities are you might have to cooperate with. But with me, I think I'm already part of a spiritual group. And so we do have a common vision, we do have a common task. And so in my day-to-day dealings, I have to do a lot of things. There are a lot of elements I have to do to be able to cooperate, to be able to continue to keep cooperating. Because it's not, we don't fight about what our vision is anymore. We don't fight about, we don't, let's say, oh, let's come to the table and actually discuss whether this is where we want to go, because whoever is around me doing that task is completely bought into this vision, and it's a vision for a new world. And so when we have that vision, and so there are other things that are very important in cooperation. I think there are about 4 or 5 elements that I need to keep constantly reminding myself every day, every time I'm in a task, to be able to keep continuing to keep cooperating.
Give me some of those elements.
A couple I've mentioned before is, one is that I'm a student, is that I am on a path of lifelong learning. I have to remember that all the time, that I don't know everything I need to know, and everyone who comes into my presence, everyone I'm working with, that I am willing to learn, and that they are actually a teacher in some way to teach me something. Teach me about my own specialities, teach me about their virtues, how they implement certain things, that everyone comes with something.
So if you're a learner, then cooperation in this case means taking advantage of the teacher.
Yes, taking advantage of
the
presence of whoever is there,
right.
that you learn from everyone.
Okay.
And it's very important, because the reason why these elements are important is because you want cooperation to beget cooperation. You want it to be a generative process. You don't just want it to be you cooperate and no one else cooperates around you. And so for it to be a generative process, people need to know that they are actually bringing something to the table that you can learn. So as a leadership, in leadership too, this is very, very important, that you're not just the sage that's teaching everyone, but that you're actually learning from them, and that they know that you're learning from them.
And they know how?
Communication, which I'm going to say in a minute, or even they know by my attitude towards them, by the way I respond to things, the way I talk to them, the way my thoughts towards them. People pick up on these things very easily. So one is being a student, and the next one is being a server. But I was thinking, being a server, and in being a server, there are a few elements. Is I serve through my attitude, I serve through my thoughts, my vision, I serve through my resources, my time, my presence, but more than anything else, I serve myself first. In any given situation, I serve myself first. And I serve myself through meditation, through making sure that I'm in the right frame of mind.
But why is that important? Why serving yourself first?
You know, in social services, people who are social workers and stuff, there's a very high rate of burnout. And that could happen in any situation. A burnout is that you're not serving yourself. And so, you know, just like when you go on a plane, people say, you know, if there's no oxygen, first put the mask on yourself and then put it on someone else.
Right.
In the same way here, I feel to keep cooperating, that you need to serve yourself, otherwise you get burnt out. So you have to keep that a priority. And I think even being a student is serving yourself. And then the third one, which I feel is very important in cooperation, is this trust and faith in God, or a higher power, or a supreme being. Because if, let's say, you're doing a task, and the task is a very important task, and you're actually being able to accomplish a lot in the task, the one thing that sabotages every task is ego.